Well, it's endless bloody darkness at the minute, but we finally got some light. Now, a job today, what I'm wanting to do is knock one of these little trays up. So essentially, it's a little bench tray. And what it's for is, well, it's really to stop this catastrophe. You know, once you've got busy at the bench and you've got all your tools out. Now, my storage, I get written to a lot about this. People are like, where's your toolboxes and your cupboards and all of that? And I tend to work in these piles. You know, I just pile the tools up and the most used ones sit at the top. I've always done it. Seems to work for me. But I don't like doing that on the bench because you get bits and bobs like your little ruler and like pencil and that. And, you know, you come to have a bit of a square up. You start brushing it down. Before you know it, like, you've binned half of it, haven't you? And you're rummaging around in a bin liner looking for your bloody wax. So what I like to do is have one of these little trays. You don't want this too big because you run the risk then of trying to balance half the workshop in it. You know, you want it just big enough for your little bits and bobs. You know, I always have a little half-inch chisel to hand, like, some little dividers. It's just your usual stuff. Your knife can go in there. It's like them 10 tools that never have an home. There's no point in putting them away, because you always need them. And it just makes that square up, really, just dead easy. You know, you just pile it all in here, brush the bench down, jobs are good and right, you know. It's I've even got plane irons. You know, I always have a load of plane irons ready to go. Scraper and that. You know, you customise this to suit yourself, but it's a dead simple construction, right? I've just got some dovetails in the corner, quicker than nails, aren't they? And a bottom that's just stuck on. So that's really what I want to start with, because I want to get this in the clamps. Got 3 bits there for the bottom, so I just need to edge them up. Probably do a rub joint or something to hold that together, and I've got to shoot off on a job quick. So I want to get that drying. Right. So what I've done is I've just knocked them down a bit. They're not exact thickness, but I worry about it when they're all together, because it's just a bit easier. I just want some thickness because it just makes the gluing a bit easier. So I'll just lay them out. Stick a triangle in it so we can put them back again. Now what we're going to want to do here is, you know, want some bloody good joints basically, because, you know, little things like this, they're a bit hard to get clamps on if you haven't got anything miniature. So what I like to do is a bit of a rub joint, and that just requires good joints to begin with. So to do that, it's quite easy if you've got a spike. Where's my hammer? There it is. I'll knock that up. So with that spike knocked up, I can basically just shove a stick underneath the actual spike bit. And we can now use that as a shooting board. We just overlap our edge, make sure it's past the bloody metal bit, and away you go. You're going to want this pretty fine. I'll do the opposite one. Which big joints were this easy? Test. That's spot on already. Glue. I want some hide glue or something for this. PVA ain't that good at this type of joint because it wants a bit of pressure. As long as this stuff, it's kind kind of made for it, really. We'll sit on something flat. All we do is bring the joints together and rub it about, and you'll feel it start to build a bit of bloody tension in it, and that's when it's good. That's the same pressure, it's hardly moving now. Right, we'll balance this somewhere now. Ooh. Right. Well, I think we've got time to get all these cut now. That'll do. Well, now if you wanted to knock one of these up, then there's a plan that's free. It's in the description and wherever that is down below. So if you just click on that, you can download it. Right, there's no bloody email or any of that shite needed. So you can just click it, download, jobs are good 'un. With them all cut and shot to length, I like to whiz off on a jolly and go look at a job. Right, well, back. Now, well, that was one of them jobs that I think I'm going to worry about at the time. There's definitely some sleepless nights with that one. Now, we've got a light still, so what I want to do is get these dovetails banged out. You know, we'll start with the dovetails. There is an housing we've got to do soon, but we'll worry about that later on. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark these out. Now, these are kind of like, when they're these tiny little joints like this, you know, you can eyeball them quite easily. Normally what I do is just put the depth lines in with a gauge and do the rest by eye. But, you know, we need some educational value, so we'll do it properly. I'll set you up so you can see better. Right, so the first thing, I'm just going to number it all. So I'm just going to lay it all out. Now, when I was shooting it, I put these little bloody facing edge marks on to help me keep track. So, just lay it all out so they're all on the outside. And then, just number them. So we'll have one here. Corresponding is one, and so on. And we want a little gauge. So what we're going to do, we'll do the dovetail, the tail portion of the joint first. But these are all the same thickness, so this gauge should stay the same. I'm just going to set that to the thickness. Now on these, the dovetail portion, you know, we don't want to be bloody striking a gauge all the way down the face, because a big portion of it doesn't matter, and you just got these bloody lines you've got to get out. So all I'm going to do is go across the edges. These can be good and deep. And then just lightly go a little bit down. 1/2 inch or so. Hopefully you can see just down the edges we're deep, and then we're just scuffed the front and back. Try and get that in the light a bit. And then the little boards, they don't need the edges doing. So we're just going to go down the face both sides. But you don't have to go right to the end. So just start in 1/4 inch or so. Fairly light, you can get a bit heavy in the middle. So what we want to do now is we need to put a dovetail shape on this and a square line along the top. So you've got a little dovetail marker, and that's going to really come in. But if you haven't, well, you can either use a bevel, a bit of a clat, and a square, or just make a little template out of some cardboard or something. So we'll do that. We'll just knock a little cardboard one up, because this is kind of that starter project type thing, isn't it? See what I've got. Right, so I'm on the corner of the bench just to get some layout for this bloody marker we're making. So what you want to do is one about 1 in 7, something like that'll do. It normally looks quite good. So I'm just going to mark a line at 1 inch. We'll go about 7. Let's connect those lines. And now we need a bit of cardboard. Do. So you want to get a square fold in that. So just lay that on. Making this right, clat. Right, that should do us. Right, start with number 1, because that sounds right. Now this you can eyeball, but just in case not, we'll just come off either end. I don't know, 1/4 inch, let's see. Little dot. Oh dear. Right then. Now, if you're dead new to dovetails, I've always found the best way to get good at something, particularly something repetitive like dovetails, they're in everything. And that is when you come to actually doing them. You know, particularly in an actual project. Rather than batch them out, do one at a time. One joint through to completion. And then when you put it together, you can get direct feedback of where you've cocked up. And then the next one, you can make that adjustment. So if it was a bit tight and you had to pare it open, you can go, well, you know, I need to open the next one up a little bit, and vice versa, rather than just cocking them all up. Now, with the tails, your main importance is your top. You just want that square. I'm going to go into detail another time on a more suitable piece and some tricks I've got for that. And then just follow that line somewhat like, you know, something like this. It's more visual than anything. So, sodding thing. Now what I like about gent saws is when it comes to chopping these shoulders, normally all I do is turn the saw around. You ain't got an handle governing you, so you can just rotate. But these shoulders are normally the hardest bit to get right. They're always the telltale of a beginner. Now, you want to get these as good as you can. So, to start with, it does pay to turn it around. Now, you can also come just off your line here as well, and then you compare to that with a chisel. Right. Right then, now we need to get these tails onto the end grain of the pin board. So we'll start with one again. So I've got the face to me. What I want to do is sit it in the vise. I've got a stick or just anything you can find and just sit it so it's flush on the top of it. And clamp it up. And you can just pull it back a bit. When you bring your part in and lay it on top, you know, you can put a bit of pressure on and it ain't going to move. You just want to bring it up so your shoulders are tight. You can always tilt it in and press it tight. And do the same on the other side. You sort of feel it. That's pretty good. It's fairly good up and down. You can adjust that afterwards so it's not the end of the world. And then with a good pencil, do that. Good bit of hardwood, like you can do this with a knife, but softwood, the knife line just disappears. Bring that line up square to your depth line. Right then, so this is your critical cut. So depending on how close you come to this line, onto the waist side obviously, it's going to depend on your fit. And dovetails work on compression, so softer the wood, the sort of more play you've got. And what I like to do with a softwood is I actually saw quite a bit onto the waist side. Let's get all that dust off so I'm not... So I come in a bit. So right now I'm right on the pencil line. So I just come until there's a fleck of white or wood colour between the saw and the pencil line. So that looks about right to me. Same on this side. I'll chisel that out. Now you can just cut them all out, like I say, but if you want to do one at a time while you're learning, then this is where you want to do it. I'll do. Right, so I normally start on the inside, just a bit. And I'm not going to sit the chisel on the gauge line, right? Because when you whack it, it's going to bloody jump back. So I'll come off it. And what I'm doing is I'm going to work to about halfway-ish. So I'm just sitting ahead of it. Give it a whack. And then we'll just relieve that a bit. Go again. And once we're getting there, this is now where I sit it in the gauge line. Through. I'll do. Right, and we're in. Fucking hell, come on, Rich. What I want to do now is I want to put a little divider into here. And it sits right down to one side, and it's just for them plain irons and that. So what I've done is I've just shot that to length. Well, I didn't shoot it, I've just cut it. And it's a little oversized, so it's currently same length as the actual box. Obviously we'll fit that later on. But I want to just number it. So on the little side that's 1, I'll just put a little 1. Because we'll make each of these housings fit each side in particular, and that will just stop, you know, one end being loose. Because if you cut them both the same, because it's hand prepped, you know, you always find one tight and one loose, so you always want to match them. Just always be careful getting your dovetails apart because you can knack on them. Right, so what I'll do is I'll go from the inside, which will be the inside of the joint. I'm just going to mark, in my case, about 1 5/8 inches, I think. Set a combi square up to about 1 1/4 inches, and on the underside, so this is the bottom, just slide it up to that line. The top of it, don't go far. Right, so then I've got the actual part that's going to go in, number one, and I'm going to slide that up so it just covers the line. And I'd rather it too tight and then plane it down. I'll spin it around so you can see it. Deeper. Right, and get the other one. And you want bottom to bottom. And just transfer that first line over, and that's the position. Right, I want to set a gauge. It's about an 1/8 inch or so. You can do it just by eye. Right, so we can either progressively deepen these with a knife, what we want to do is just carefully, these tiny bloody joints, and just keep away from your very end. So you can go again now with a knife and just keep deepening it. The only issue is, because your knife kind of rounds from both sides, or some do, you can end up with walls that end up buggering off. So I like to sometimes just do this with a chisel. About there. Right, that's a little. trying to bloody do this whilst not blocking you. Oh, twatting the camera. Oh, I could have done with the shaving off, but I've done a bit of a power grip on it, but ideally you want it to just kind of stay in. And that's when you've got an ideal fit. Oh. Very hard to fix these types of joints if they're too loose. I'd say that is probably ideal actually, because what I like to do is, I normally use a little metal hammer, but I just like to whack the corners a bit. And what it does is it just crushes the wood a bit, and then when you've got some moisture from the glue, it swells it back out again. So it's you can get a fit. See how that now, we've got a perfect fit. And when that expands with a bit of bloody glue, you know, it's a seamless joint. But you've got a bit to go, right? Just plane it. Be careful taking it out now, that don't rag the grain up. Super. Right then, so we'll finish those off. Oh, you fucking find you. Bloody light. Right, so we'll finish them off once we've got the box glued together, because we'll be able to get an accurate length then. And we've got to rip it down a bit. And I also just want to put some top shoulders on it to cover the joint. Right, so our insides are pretty clean still. So from that plain surface. But if there wasn't, now's where you just give it a quick lick with a plane, you know, before you glue it all together. But I find with these smaller things, you've got to be ever so careful, because you start taking wood off places and all of a sudden your joints look like bloody shite. So, we'll glue all this up now. So what I'm going to do, I like using a PVA or something for this because it expands the wood a bit. So, and I put it on all surfaces. Oh, shite. Right, and then something you can do is just put a clamp along. Let's just knock them pads off. And I'll just pull the tails in a bit. spot on. It's a good thing with dovetails, if you do them right, like they're self-square. Right, so what I want to do here is, you can bloody see that, I want to put a little shoulder at the top, this divider. And the reason for that is so that we can essentially round the divider off a bit. We can put chamfer on it without it showing a gap in that top corner. So it's a bit pointless for what it is, but it's just good practice. And I'll show you all I'm doing. So I'll just score the top of it. Just get a line just lightly. Same on the other side. I just guesstimate all of this, but all I'm going to do is set a little gauge up. It's probably that same 1/8 inch. Right, and then just get a pencil mark because we're still sticking out, it's too high. Cut it well strong. You want it sticking out a bit, we can plane it back. It's always easier to do that. Right, let's try and flush this top off a bit, or this bottom. good. I'm just whipping around. I'm just checking that when I apply just light pressure, is it fairly seamless? You know, because it's any tiny discrepancies of flatness we can get out once the bottom's on. I reckon that'll do us. I need a stick. Alright then, we need to plane this down. Now I'm not worried about cleaning it to perfection just yet, but I do want to get the majority down. It's just going to be less hassle once that bottom's on. And what I've got to be careful of is this end grain, because we don't want it to blow all out. There's not a lot you can do once that's happened. Now if it was bigger, you'd come from both sides, but this is, that'd be a clack, because you're not going to get that clean finish all the way through. You're going to end up with stop shavings. So I think what we're going to try and do, if I can get a little clamp in there, I can. Just put a little backing board in. A little bit. Where's that fucking chisel? That'll do for now. That's it's turned into a bit of a palaver. It'll hold it. I think if I was thinking about it better, I'd have just bloody used a tea towel like and a cull. That'd have done a better job, but on the fly that'll do. And the tape's only got to hold it, you know, until that glue starts to bite. There's not a lot of force needed. You know, this thin bottom, it bends easy. But I'm going to give that a bit of time to set up now, and then I can get any glue out that might have creeped out. I can already see. I want to start wiping that. I'm going to make a right old mess if I do. So I'll just wait for it to harden a little bit, and then I'll just slice it out. Well, I may or may not have accidentally stumbled into the pub last night, so it was a different kind of late one than what I had planned. Now, but anyway, there's not much to do left on this box now, so I want to get it done before I crack on with the daylight. I'm going to finish this pot of tea steadily, and we'll get it wrapped up. Well, my vision's coming back, so I haven't really got much left to do. We've just got to clean it up. Now, inside wasn't too bad, so all I did was take a chisel and I just scored it all the way down along all the edges, anywhere there was glue beading up, and then you just turn it so the bevel's down and just take it out like so. It's no biggie. It'd have been definitely easy if I did it last night. Now, what we've got to do is just plane this bottom back. I'm going to put a little undercut on it so it disappears. It'll be much like we just did it, you know, when we cleaned all these joints up. So we're just going to skim over it in that same way, probably with the backing board too. What I might do is just use a little saw and just take the majority of this end grain off, just to make planing a bit easier. Right. I just want to put a chamfer along that bottom now to make it disappear. So I'm just going to guesstimate something like that all the way around. You don't need to do this. So I'm going to take the end grain down visibly anyway. And that's where you do the cross grain first, because you can get that out when you come the other way. Well, it's a bit underwhelming, wasn't it? But at least we can say jobs are good then. Now, I think the thing is with little jobs like this, you know, they're very good for the beginner, you know, someone who's practicing. You get to like put all of the skills into one piece and see it through in a relatively short amount of time. It don't matter if it looks like shite, does it? Because no one else is going to see it but you. So it's definitely something you can get done on a Sunday afternoon. You know, you can build this thing like, you know, just conjure it up out of bloody scraps to any dimension you want, really. But if you're wanting a plan, you know, I've got a free plan on the website that we've knocked up. So just click over there and go and have a look. You can download it, like. But I'm going to go fill it up now and I can put the other one back in my bloody toolbox, can't I? So